The first time I saw him, I thought the camera had glitched. It was just after 2:17 a.m. Outside, rain tapped against the windows of my old Oregon farmhouse. The kind of steady, endless rain that made the whole world sound distant. My coffee had gone cold hours earlier, but I was still awake, finishing a cybersecurity report for a client in Seattle. Working remotely had become easier after I left Portland. Fewer distractions, fewer people. That was the reason I bought the house. Silence. Or at least, I thought it would be. 3 nights earlier, I had started hearing footsteps outside. Not loud, not frantic, just slow, measured. 1 step, a pause, another step, as if someone enjoyed walking around the property without ever knocking. The first night, I blamed the wind. The second night, I grabbed a flashlight and searched every corner of the yard. Nothing. No footprints. No broken fence. No animals. By the third night, I drove 20 miles to a weekend yard sale and bought an old 4-camera security system from an elderly man who seemed oddly eager to get rid of it. "It's outdated," he told me while avoiding eye contact. "But it still works." That was all he said. I installed the cameras before sunset. 1 facing the driveway, 1 covering the backyard, 1 aimed down the hallway inside the house, and 1 overlooking my bedroom door. Nothing unusual happened that evening. I almost felt embarrassed for wasting money on old equipment. Around midnight, I went to bed. At 2:17 a.m., my phone vibrated. Motion detected. Camera 3. Still half asleep, I reached for the phone and opened the live feed. The hallway stretched across the screen, dimly lit by a single nightlight near the bathroom. The walls looked exactly as I remembered them. Empty. No movement. No sound. I frowned. Probably a software bug. I rolled over and closed my eyes. Another vibration. Motion detected. Camera 3. This time I sighed, climbed out of bed, and walked downstairs to the small office where the monitor displayed all 4 camera feeds. Camera 1. Driveway. Empty. Camera 2. Backyard. Nothing but rain. Camera 4. Bedroom door. Completely still. Then I looked at camera 3. The hallway. First, nothing. I reached for the keyboard to review the recording instead of the live feed. The footage rewound automatically. 2 hours, 16 minutes, and 58 seconds. Empty hallway. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 1 second. Still empty. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 4 seconds. A flicker crossed the screen. Not static. Not interference. Something darker. I leaned closer, frame by frame. The hallway remained empty until 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 7 seconds. Someone was standing at the far end of the hallway. My breath caught. It wasn't a shadow. It wasn't a trick of the light. It looked like a man, tall, thin, standing perfectly still. His face was too pale for the darkness around him, but I couldn't make out any features. It was as though the camera refused to focus on him. I froze. The timestamp continued. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 8 seconds. He hadn't moved. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 9 seconds. Still motionless. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 10 seconds. The recording skipped. Just 1 frame. When the image returned, he was closer. Not walking. Not blurred. Simply closer. Every instinct told me someone had broken into my house. I grabbed the heavy flashlight from my desk and hurried into the hallway. The house was silent. I checked every room. Kitchen, bathroom, guest bedroom, laundry room, closets. Nothing. Every window was locked. Every door was closed. No muddy footprints. No sign of forced entry. I stood in the center of the hallway, trying to slow my breathing. If someone had been there, where did they go? I returned to the monitor, hands shaking slightly now. I replayed the recording again. The man appeared exactly where I'd seen him before, still, watching. Then, the screen glitched for less than a second. When the image stabilized, the hallway was empty. The figure was gone. I stared at the monitor for several minutes before convincing myself it had to be faulty hardware. Old cameras, corrupted footage, compression errors. There was always a logical explanation. I shut the monitor off, locked every door again, and went back upstairs. As I reached my bedroom, I noticed something strange. The bedroom door was already open. I was certain I had closed it before going downstairs. I told myself I had simply forgotten. People forget things when they're tired. I stepped inside, closed the door, and climbed back into bed. Just before I turned off the bedside lamp, my phone vibrated one last time. Motion detected. Camera 4. I looked toward my bedroom door. Nothing. Slowly, I unlocked the phone, opened the camera app, and felt every muscle in my body go rigid. On camera 4's live feed, someone was standing outside my bedroom, perfectly still, facing the door. My first instinct was to throw the phone across the room. Instead, I stared at the screen. The hallway outside my bedroom was dim, lit only by the small nightlight near the staircase. The image looked grainy, but clear enough to make out every detail. The man was still there, tall, unnaturally thin. His shoulders were slightly hunched, as though he'd been standing in the same position for hours. He wasn't looking around. He wasn't searching the house. He was looking directly at my bedroom door. At me. I swallowed hard. "This isn't real," I whispered. The words sounded weak in the silence. Keeping my eyes on the phone, I slowly reached toward the bedside drawer and pulled out the small flashlight I kept for power outages. The beam cut across the room as I approached the door. The live feed never changed. The figure didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. I rested one hand on the doorknob. 3, 2, 1. I yanked the door open. The hallway was empty. No footsteps, no shadow, nothing. The cold air from the downstairs hallway drifted past me, carrying the faint smell of wet wood and old paint. I swept the flashlight from one end of the hallway to the other. Nothing. I looked back down at my phone. The figure was still on the screen, standing exactly where empty space existed in front of me. My heartbeat quickened. I slowly raised the phone until it lined up with the hallway. Through the camera, he was there, over the top edge of the phone. Nothing. I lowered it. He appeared. Raised it. Nothing. Lowered it again. There he was, watching. For nearly a minute, I repeated the same motion like a man trying to prove reality wrong. Phone down. Man. Phone up. Empty hallway. Again. 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 Each time, the result was the same. My logical mind searched desperately for an explanation. Augmented reality? No, the cameras weren't connected to anything like that. A software bug? Impossible. The image stayed perfectly aligned with the hallway every time I moved. Hallucination? Maybe, but hallucinations don't usually obey perspective. I backed into the bedroom and locked the door. Then I sat on the floor until sunrise, never taking my eyes off the phone. At exactly 6:03 a.m., the figure disappeared. Not by walking away, not by fading. One frame he was there. The next, he simply wasn't. I called in sick for work. Instead of opening my laptop, I spent the morning inspecting every inch of the security system. Each cable, each camera, each connector. Nothing looked damaged. The recorder was old, but functional. This hard drive contained only footage from the previous 3 days. No older recordings, no hidden files, no strange settings. I even checked the model number online. The cameras had been discontinued almost 10 years ago. Nothing unusual about them. At least, nothing that the manufacturer admitted. I replayed last night's footage on 3 different devices. My desktop monitor, my tablet, my phone. The man appeared on every screen. Same place, same posture, same impossible stillness. I zoomed in on his face. The software sharpened the image. It only made him look worse. His features refused to become clear. It was as though the pixels themselves didn't know what they were trying to display. Every time the software enhanced the image, his face shifted slightly. Not enough to notice at first, but enough to make me stop the playback. People don't change faces between frames. Compression artifacts can blur. They don't rearrange bone structure. I leaned back in my chair. A pressure began building behind my eyes. Maybe I wasn't sleeping enough. Maybe stress was catching up with me. I decided to prove the cameras were lying. At exactly 8 p.m., I placed a dining chair in the hallway where the figure had appeared. Then I aimed a bright construction light directly at it. If the camera produced another ghostly silhouette, I'd know it was caused by reflections or poor lighting. Simple, scientific, testable. By 11:30 p.m., nothing had happened. I almost laughed at myself. Maybe that had been the end of it. Maybe the system had glitched once and never would again. I made another cup of coffee, sat in front of the monitor, and waited. At 2:17 a.m., the motion alarm sounded again. Camera 3, the hallway. The dining chair was still there. The construction light still illuminated the wall. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then, the chair moved. Not much, just a few inches. It didn't slide across the floor. It was pushed, slowly, deliberately, as though someone had placed one hand on the backrest. But there was no one there. The chair stopped moving. My pulse hammered in my ears. I watched the live feed, unable to blink. The empty hallway remained still. Then the construction light flickered once, twice, 3 times. When the light stabilized, the man was standing behind the chair, closer than he'd been the night before. His head tilted slightly to one side, almost curious. I grabbed the flashlight and sprinted into the hallway. The chair stood exactly where I'd left it. The construction light shone steadily. No one was there, not even a footprint on the dusty wooden floor. I turned back toward my office. The monitor was visible through the open door. Camera 3 still displayed the hallway, except the man was no longer behind the chair. He was standing at the end of the office doorway, looking directly toward me. I looked up. The doorway was empty. I looked back at the monitor. The figure hadn't moved. Then, for the first time, he slowly raised one hand. Not to wave, not to point, just enough for one pale finger to touch the camera lens. The screen exploded into static. The static lasted exactly 7 seconds. Then the image returned. The hallway was empty. The chair hadn't moved. The construction light burned steadily against the wall. It looked so ordinary that I almost convinced myself I'd imagined the last minute. Almost. I checked the recording immediately. The footage had captured everything. The chair sliding, the figure appearing, his hand rising, his finger touching the lens. And then, static. I replayed the final few seconds over and over. Every time his finger reached the camera, the video corrupted at the exact same frame. Not before, not after. Exactly then. I leaned back in my chair, rubbing my temples. If this was some elaborate prank, it was impossible. No one had entered the house. Every door and window had remained locked. The cameras were offline, wired directly into the recorder. There was no internet connection to hack. No wireless signal to intercept. Everything I knew about technology told me this couldn't happen. But it had. I needed another opinion. Not from the police. Not yet. Someone who knew the house. Around noon, I walked across the street to Mrs. Eleanor Graves' home. She answered after the second knock. A small woman with silver hair neatly tied back and a cardigan that looked older than I was. She smiled politely. "Good morning, Ethan. Do you have a minute?" The smile faded. Of course. Her living room smelled of cinnamon and old books. Rain tapped softly against the windows. She poured tea without asking if I wanted any. Somehow, she already knew I did. We talked about ordinary things for several minutes. The weather, the town, the grocery store that closed too early. Finally, I asked the question that had brought me there. "Do you know anything about my house?" She stopped stirring her tea. "What kind of things?" "The people who lived there before me." A long silence filled the room. She looked toward the window instead of at me. "There have been several owners." "Anything unusual?" She sighed. "Most people in Ashwood don't like talking about that house." "Why?" "Because stories become rumors." "I'm not asking about rumors." "No." She looked at me carefully. "You're asking because something happened." I hesitated. Then I nodded. She didn't seem surprised. Instead, she stood and walked to an old bookshelf in the corner. From the top shelf, she removed a dusty photo album. Inside were newspaper clippings, neighborhood events, school photographs, community picnics. Then she stopped on a yellowed newspaper dated nearly 9 years earlier. The headline read, "Local man disappears without a trace." Below it was a photograph. A man in his late 30s, short brown hair, black-framed glasses, tired eyes. For a split second, I thought I was looking at myself. Not because he looked identical, but because he had the same expression I saw every morning in the mirror. Exhausted, restless, like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. "His name was Michael Turner," Mrs. Graves said quietly. "He owned your house. What happened to him? No one knows. The police, they searched the forest, the river, every road leaving town. Nothing." She slowly shook her head. "He simply vanished." I stared at the newspaper. When was the last time anyone saw him? The morning after he installed security cameras. A chill crept across my skin. Security cameras? She nodded. "He told people someone kept walking around his property every night." My stomach tightened. "He bought cameras to prove it." "What happened after that?" Mrs. Graves closed the album. "He stopped sleeping. He became convinced someone was inside the house. People thought he was losing his mind." I swallowed. "Did anyone ever see what he saw?" "No." "Did he show anyone the recordings?" "He tried." She looked directly into my eyes. "But every time someone else watched them, they said there was nothing there." The room suddenly felt colder. My hands tightened around the warm cup of tea. That couldn't be right. I had recordings. I had proof. Didn't I? Back home, I copied the footage onto a USB drive. If Mrs. Graves was right, there was only one way to know. I drove to the Ashwood Police Department. Officer Daniel Brooks greeted me with the same calm professionalism he'd shown when introducing himself after I moved into town. "Ethan, everything okay? I need you to watch something." 20 minutes later, we sat in a small interview room. I plugged the USB drive into the department computer. The hallway recording appeared on the screen. I hit play. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 7 seconds. The figure appeared. I watched him. Officer Brooks watched the same screen. The recording ended. He looked at me. "I don't understand." "What do you mean?" "The man." "What man?" I felt my heartbeat stumble. "The one standing in the hallway." Officer Brooks frowned. "Ethan, there wasn't anyone in that video." I stared at him. "No, you missed it." I rewound the footage, played it again. The figure was still there, exactly where he'd always been. Right there. I pointed at the screen. Brooks looked where I pointed. His face remained completely blank. "I see an empty hallway." My mouth went dry. "No. Look closer." "I am." "There is nothing there." A heavy silence settled between us. Finally, Brooks spoke carefully. "When was the last time you got a full night's sleep?" The question hit harder than it should have. I couldn't answer, because I honestly couldn't remember. As I reached for the USB drive, Officer Brooks stopped me. "Leave it with me. I'll run a forensic check. If someone altered the footage, we'll find out." I nodded. It was the only explanation left. Someone had manipulated the recordings. Someone had to. That evening, I returned home just before sunset. The rain had finally stopped. For the first time in days, the property felt peaceful. Too peaceful. As I unlocked the front door, something caught my attention. The office light was on. I was certain, absolutely certain. I turned it off before leaving. Slowly, I stepped inside. The house was silent. The monitor was already awake. All 4 camera feeds were running. I hadn't left them on. Camera 1, driveway, empty. Camera 2, backyard, empty. Camera 4, bedroom, empty. Then my eyes settled on camera 3, the hallway. The man was standing there, closer than ever before. And this time, He wasn't looking at the camera. He was looking directly into the office, at the place where I was standing. Even though the office camera didn't exist, I didn't move, couldn't. The office suddenly felt too small, as if the walls had shifted inward while I was gone. On the monitor, the man stood in the hallway. His body faced the camera, but his head was turned toward the office. Toward me. That wasn't possible. Camera 3 couldn't see inside the office. There was a wall between them. No angle, no reflection, no mirror. Yet somehow, he knew exactly where I was standing. A cold pressure settled in my chest. Slowly, I looked away from the monitor and into the real hallway. Empty. Nothing but the faded wallpaper and the old wooden floor. I looked back at the screen. He was still there, watching. For the first time since this nightmare had begun, I did something irrational. I spoke to him. "Who are you?" The monitor remained silent. The figure didn't react, didn't blink, didn't breathe. I laughed nervously. Great. Now I'm talking to security cameras. I reached for the recorder and unplugged camera 3. The screen went black. No signal. I waited. 10 seconds. 20. 30. Nothing. A small wave of relief washed over me. Finally, a hardware problem. I took a deep breath. Then the monitor beeped. Motion detected, camera 4. My relief disappeared. Camera 4 overlooked my bedroom door upstairs. I clicked the feed open. The hallway outside my bedroom was empty. Then, a dark shape slowly crossed the camera. Not walking, not running, gliding. It moved from left to right, disappearing out of frame in complete silence. I sprinted upstairs, 2 steps at a time. The hallway was empty. Every door was closed. My bedroom stood exactly as I'd left it. I searched every room again. Nothing. No signs of anyone. No footprints. No broken locks. I stood there breathing hard. Then my phone buzzed. Motion detected, camera 1. Driveway. I rushed downstairs. Opened the feed. The driveway was empty. Until the image flickered. The man stood beside my truck. His pale face turned toward the house. Toward me. I ran outside. The cold evening air hit my face. Rainwater dripped from the roof. The driveway was empty. No man. No footprints. Nothing. I looked down at my phone. The live feed still showed him, standing only a few feet away from where I was actually standing. I slowly raised my eyes. Nothing. Lowered them to the phone. He remained there. Then, for the first time, he moved. Not his body. Not his arms. Only his head. Very slowly, he turned it until he was looking directly into the phone's camera. The screen froze. A loud electronic screech burst from the speaker. I nearly dropped the phone. The image went black. Then a single sentence appeared across the display. Signal lost. The phone restarted itself. When it powered back on, every camera feed was offline. Every single one. I hurried back inside and checked the recorder. No power. The entire system was dead. The outlet worked. The cables were intact. But the recorder refused to turn on. I pressed the power button again. Nothing. Again. Still nothing. Then, without warning, the machine started by itself. The fan spun. The hard drive clicked. The monitor lit up. But instead of the usual camera menu, a black screen appeared. White letters slowly typed themselves across it. One character at a time. YOU. Pause. CAN. Another pause. C. The final line appeared. Me. I stumbled backwards so fast that the chair behind me crashed onto the floor. The text disappeared. The normal camera menu returned. As if nothing had happened. Every camera feed was online again. Every feed, except camera 3. Its square remained black. At the bottom of the screen, one small message blinked. No device detected. Impossible. The camera was still hanging in the hallway. Connected. Powered. I had unplugged it from the recorder only minutes ago. I grabbed a flashlight and walked toward the hallway to check the cable. Halfway there, I stopped. The hallway camera was no longer pointing down the hall. It had been turned. Very carefully. Now, The lens was facing my office door, exactly where I had been standing. And I knew with absolute certainty I hadn't touched it. I stood frozen in the hallway. The camera hung from the ceiling exactly where I had installed it. The mounting screws were still tight. The cable hadn't been pulled. Nothing was broken. Only the direction had changed. Its lens stared directly at me. I don't know why, but I found myself whispering, "No!" as if saying the word could undo what I was seeing. I climbed onto a stepladder and turned the camera back toward the hallway. I tightened the adjustment screw with a wrench until it wouldn't move another inch. Then I climbed down. Satisfied, I stepped into the office. The monitor showed camera 3 again. The hallway, everything looked normal. I exhaled. Maybe the screw had been loose. Maybe vibration had slowly shifted it. I was desperate enough to believe anything. Then, the monitor clicked. Without warning, the camera began turning. Not fast, not violently, slowly, smoothly, as if invisible fingers were rotating it. On the live feed, the hallway slid out of view. The office door entered the frame. The movement stopped. The camera was looking at me again. I ran into the hallway. The camera was perfectly still, already facing me. I hadn't heard it move. There was no sound, no motor, nothing. My pulse hammered in my ears. I unplugged the entire system from the wall. Darkness swallowed the monitor. For several seconds, the office was silent. Then, somewhere above me, a single floorboard creaked. The attic. I looked toward the ceiling. Another creak. Slow, heavy, as though someone had taken one careful step. Then another. I had never been into the attic. The previous owner had left it locked, and I'd never bothered to inspect it. Until now. The pull-down ladder groaned as I lowered it. A wave of stale air drifted down, carrying the smell of old wood, dust, and something damp. I switched on my flashlight and climbed slowly. Every step echoed through the empty house. The attic was larger than I expected. Boxes lined the walls. Old furniture sat beneath dusty sheets. Cobwebs stretched between the rafters. The beam of my flashlight swept across the room. Nothing. No one. I almost laughed at myself again. Then my light caught a small wooden desk tucked into the far corner. Unlike everything else, it wasn't covered in dust. Someone had used it. Recently, on top of the desk sat a leather notebook. Beside it, an old Polaroid camera. My stomach tightened. I opened the notebook. The first page read, "Property Journal." Below it, a name, Michael Turner, the previous owner. I turned the page. May 3rd. Someone keeps walking outside every night. Police found nothing. Need proof. May 7th. Installed security cameras today. Finally caught him. No one believes me. I stopped breathing. The next page. May 9th. Officer Brooks says the footage is empty. He looked right at the screen. How can he not see it? The handwriting grew shakier with each entry. May 12th. He moved. Closer. May 14th. He doesn't appear in mirrors. Only recordings. My hands trembled. Every word matched my own experience. Exactly. I kept reading. May 17th. Destroyed camera 2. Didn't matter. He appeared on camera 1. May 20th. Destroyed every camera. Phones started seeing him. I swallowed hard. The room suddenly felt colder. The notebook slipped slightly in my hands. One more page. The handwriting was almost unreadable now, as though Michael had been writing while terrified. May 24th. It's not following the house. It's following me. I turned another page. Blank. Another. Blank. Then, the final page. Only one sentence. Written so deeply into the paper that it nearly tore through. If you can see him, never let him know you're afraid. A loud thump echoed somewhere behind me. I spun around. The attic was empty. The flashlight beam shook violently in my hand. Another sound. Closer this time. A slow, deliberate tap, tap, tap. Not footsteps. Someone knocking. 3 gentle knocks. From inside the attic wall. I backed away from the sound. The knocking stopped. Silence. Then, a whisper. So faint I almost missed it. Ethan. Every hair on my arms stood up. No one knew I was up here. No one should have been inside the walls. I aimed the flashlight toward the sound. Nothing. Just old wooden boards. Then my light drifted across a dusty mirror leaning against a support beam. I almost ignored it until I noticed something impossible. The attic behind me was reflected perfectly. The boxes, the desk, the ladder, everything except me. My reflection wasn't there. Instead, standing exactly where I should have been, was the tall man, motionless, watching. I turned around so fast that I nearly fell. The attic was empty. I looked back at the mirror. The figure was gone. Only my own terrified reflection stared back at me. Then my phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out with shaking hands. One notification. No camera app was running. No security system was connected. Just a single message on the lock screen. New device connected. I hadn't connected anything. Slowly, the message disappeared, replaced by another. Recording started. I stared at the notification. Recording started. There was no camera app open. No video call. No live stream. Nothing. I unlocked my phone. The screen looked normal. No recording indicator. No red. No timer. I opened the camera app anyway. The front camera came to life. My own face appeared on the screen. Pale. Sweating. Eyes wide from a night without sleep. I almost laughed. "You're losing it, Ethan." Then, the image froze. Not for a split second. It froze completely. My reflection stopped blinking, stopped breathing, stopped moving. But I was still moving. I slowly waved my hand in front of my face. On the screen, nothing changed. The frozen version of me continued staring straight ahead. Then, the frozen image smiled. A slow, impossible smile. My real face wasn't smiling. I dropped the phone. It hit the wooden floor with a loud crack. The screen went black. Silence returned. For several seconds, I couldn't bring myself to pick it up. When I finally did, the phone worked perfectly. No cracked display. No recording. No notification. As if nothing had happened. I climbed down from the attic with Michael Turner's notebook tucked under my arm. Every instinct told me to leave the house. Drive until the fuel tank ran dry. Check into a motel. Forget this place ever existed. Those were the only things keeping me together. While the kettle boiled, I spread Michael's notebook across the kitchen table. The final pages bothered me. They weren't written like journal entries anymore. They were observations, rules, almost like instructions left for whoever came next. I flipped to the back. In tiny handwriting, squeezed into the margins, I found a list. He cannot be heard. He cannot be touched. He does not force doors open. He waits. He gets closer only when you notice him. I read the last line 3 times. He gets closer only when you notice him. A chill ran through me. Was that why he'd been moving? Because I kept watching him? Because I replayed the footage over and over? I remembered the first night. He'd been at the end of the hallway. Now, he was appearing outside my bedroom. Had I been helping him? No, I whispered. That's impossible. But deep down, it made a horrifying kind of sense. That afternoon, Officer Brooks called. I finished checking your USB drive. I grabbed the phone immediately. And there wasn't any sign of editing. So you saw him? Pause. No, my stomach dropped. The video is clean, Ethan. But it's just an empty hallway. I closed my eyes. There has to be something you're missing. I even asked 2 other officers to look. And they saw exactly what I did. Empty hallway. 3 different people. 3 different screens. Only I could see the figure. Before hanging up, Brooks hesitated. Can I ask you something? Sure. Have you ever had panic attacks? I almost laughed. No. Any history of sleep disorders? No. Another pause. If things get worse, talk to someone. The line went dead. By evening, I had made a decision. I would stop looking. No cameras. No recordings. No checking notifications. If Michael's notes were right, Seeing the figure only made things worse. So I unplugged every camera, disconnected the recorder, turned off my phone, closed my laptop. For the first time in days, the house was completely silent. I cooked dinner, read half a novel, even managed to smile once. Maybe this would work. Maybe ignoring it was the answer. At exactly 10:42 p.m., the television turned on by itself. Static filled the screen. I frowned. The remote lay untouched on the coffee table. Then the static disappeared. A security camera feed appeared. Not mine. This camera overlooked a narrow hospital corridor. The timestamp read, October 14th, 1998. A nurse pushed an empty wheelchair past the camera. The hallway fell silent. Several seconds later, the tall man stepped into view. Exactly the same. Same height, same dark clothes, same impossible stillness. He had not aged. He had not changed. The footage ended. Another clip started automatically. A convenience store, 2007. The figure stood between two aisles. Another, a subway platform, 2014. The figure stood at the far end of the station. Another, a hotel elevator camera, 2021. The doors opened. The elevator was empty. Then, for one frame, he stood inside. The doors closed. My blood ran cold. Different places, different years, different cameras. The same man, watching, waiting. The television switched off. The room returned to darkness. I hadn't touched anything. Slowly, very slowly, I looked toward the black TV screen. In the reflection, someone was standing behind my couch. I spun around. Nothing. The living room was empty. I looked back at the television. Only my own reflection. Then, from somewhere upstairs, a single floorboard creaked, followed by another, then another. Not random, not the house settling. They sounded exactly like footsteps, walking toward the bedroom. I grabbed the flashlight before I realized what I was doing. Every instinct screamed at me to stay downstairs. Instead, I climbed the staircase. Slowly, each step groaned beneath my weight. The house had become unnaturally quiet. No rain, no wind, not even the hum of the refrigerator downstairs. Only silence. The kind of silence that feels as though it's waiting for something. Halfway up the stairs, I stopped. The bedroom door at the end of the hall was open. I was certain I'd closed it before coming downstairs. I aimed the flashlight toward the doorway. The beam reached the room, but it felt strangely dim, as if the darkness inside absorbed the light instead of reflecting it. Ethan. The voice was barely a whisper, so faint it could have been my imagination. I spun around. The hallway behind me was empty. No one. When I looked back toward the bedroom, the door was closed. I hadn't seen it move. I hadn't heard it shut. It was simply closed. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. I walked to the door and rested my hand on the knob. It was icy, not cool, not chilled by the night air. Icy, as though someone had left it in a freezer. I counted to 3 in my head. Then I pushed it open. The bedroom looked normal. The bed was unmade. The lamp sat on the nightstand. My laptop rested on the desk. Nothing had been disturbed. I searched the closet, under the bed, the bathroom, empty. I let out a long breath. I'm done, I muttered. I'm done being scared. As I turned to leave, something caught my eye. The digital clock beside the bed. 2:17. The numbers glowed a deep red. I checked my watch. 10:58 p.m. I looked back at the clock. Still 2:17. Without warning, every light in the room went out. Darkness swallowed everything. My flashlight flickered once, twice, then died. For a moment, I stood in complete blackness. Then, somewhere inside the room, someone exhaled. Not loudly, not aggressively, just a slow, tired breath. Close enough that I felt it brush against my neck. I spun around, swinging the dead flashlight like a weapon. Nothing. The lights suddenly came back on. The bedroom looked exactly as before, except the chair at my desk had been pulled away. It now faced the bed. I hadn't moved it. I knew I hadn't. On the seat of the chair lay something that hadn't been there moments earlier. Polaroid photograph. My hands trembled as I picked it up. The picture was still developing. At first it showed only gray shapes. Then, slowly, my bedroom came into focus. The angle was impossible. It had been taken from the ceiling corner, exactly where no camera existed. I looked closer. The photo showed me standing beside the bed, holding the flashlight, looking toward the door. Behind me, someone stood less than a foot away. The tall man. His face was still blurred, but for the first time, I noticed something different. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the camera, as though he knew he was being photographed. A sudden knock echoed from downstairs. 3 sharp knocks. I nearly dropped the photo. Someone was at the front door. I hurried down the stairs. Another knock, then another. I looked through the peephole. Officer Brooks stood on the porch, his raincoat soaked from a storm that had started without me noticing. I unlocked the door. Before I could speak, he held up a brown evidence envelope. "I think you need to see this." We sat at the kitchen table. Brooks pulled several photographs from the envelope. They came from the county archives. The first picture showed my house taken years ago. The second showed Michael Turner standing in the driveway. The third made my blood turn to ice. It showed Michael inside the house, looking directly at the camera. Behind him stood the same tall figure, exactly as I'd seen him. Same posture, same distance, same blurred face. Brooks watched my expression carefully. "What's wrong?" "You." I swallowed. "You can see him?" Brooks frowned. "See who?" I looked back at the photograph. The figure was gone. Only Michael remained, alone. I stared in disbelief. "I swear." My voice cracked. He was right there. Brooks didn't answer immediately. Instead, he slid one final document across the table. It wasn't a photograph. It was Michael Turner's missing person case file. Near the bottom was a single handwritten note from the detective who led the investigation. The subject repeatedly claimed that cameras were teaching something how to find him. Brooks tapped the note with his finger. "I don't believe in ghosts, Ethan. But I do believe people can convince themselves of impossible things." He stood to leave. At the front door, he paused. "If you need help, call me." After he drove away, I locked every door, closed every curtain, turned off every light except the one in my office. Then I noticed something lying on the kitchen table. Another Polaroid. I was certain Brooks hadn't left it. With trembling hands, I picked it up. The image had already developed. It showed the exact moment Officer Brooks stood at my front door. Only, the photograph had been taken from inside the house, from directly behind me, and in the reflection of the glass beside the door. I wasn't alone. I didn't sleep, not even for a minute. The Polaroid stayed on the kitchen table while I sat across from it until sunrise. Every hour I'd look away, then look back. Every time, I was afraid something in the picture would have changed. It never did. The reflection still showed the tall man standing only a few feet behind me, watching, waiting. By morning, I'd reached a decision. I wasn't going to run. I wasn't going to destroy more cameras. Michael Turner had already tried that. Instead, I was going to understand why this was happening. I drove back to the yard sale address printed on the old receipt I'd found inside the camera box. The small farmhouse sat at the end of a gravel road. The yard was empty. The folding tables from the sale were gone. Only an old pickup truck remained. I knocked. The elderly man who had sold me the cameras opened the door. The moment he saw me, the color drained from his face. "I knew you'd come back. You know these cameras. I know where they came from. Then tell me." He hesitated before stepping aside. Inside, the house was filled with antique radios, clocks, and shelves stacked with old electronics. He led me to a workbench in the garage. Without a word, he opened a dusty metal box. Inside were dozens of camera lenses, broken ones, cracked ones, burned ones. I've been trying to destroy every recording device that came from that property. I stared at him. Those cameras came from my house? He nodded. They belonged to Michael. Why didn't you tell me? Because people don't believe stories. They believe experience. I felt anger rising. People are disappearing. His eyes met mine. I know. You knew Michael? He closed the box. He was my younger brother. Silence filled the garage. For several moments, neither of us spoke. Finally, he said, "The police searched for Michael. I searched for the cameras." Why? Because Michael's last phone call wasn't about someone breaking into his house. What did he say? The old man's voice became almost a whisper. He said, "The cameras aren't recording him." He swallowed. "They're letting him see me." A cold wave rolled through my body. The cameras. They're windows. The old man nodded. Not doors. Windows. He can't cross through them. Then why are people disappearing? His answer came without hesitation. Because eventually, people stop looking through the window and start looking back. He handed me a sealed envelope. I've kept this for 9 years. Inside was a single VHS tape. A handwritten label read, "Final recording, Michael Turner, May 24th. An hour later, I found an old VCR at a thrift store and returned home. The tape crackled as it began to play. Michael appeared on the screen. He looked exhausted. His beard had grown uneven. His eyes were bloodshot. He stared directly into the camera. "If you're watching this, then he found you too." He looked over his shoulder, as if expecting someone to be standing behind him. "I figured out one thing. He doesn't want the house. He doesn't want the cameras. He wants..." Michael stopped speaking. His eyes slowly drifted upward, toward something behind the camera. His face turned white. "No," he whispered. "You weren't supposed to." The recording shook violently. Michael grabbed the camera. He began running. The image bounced wildly through dark hallways. Heavy breathing, footsteps, a door slammed, then silence. The camera lay on its side. From the floor, it showed only part of the room. For nearly 20 seconds, nothing happened. Then, a pair of black shoes stepped into frame. The tall man, closer than ever before. He bent down slowly until his blurred face filled the entire screen. For the first time, he spoke. His voice sounded like dozens of whispers layered together. Only 4 words. "Now, it's your turn." The tape erupted into static, then stopped. The room around me had gone completely silent. The VCR displayed END. My hands were shaking. Michael hadn't disappeared. He'd been chosen. I looked toward the television. Its black screen reflected my living room, the couch, the bookshelf, the window, and me. Only, my reflection wasn't looking at the television. It was looking over my shoulder. Slowly, very slowly, I turned around. Nothing. I looked back at the screen. My reflection was facing forward again. Then my phone buzzed. One final notification. No app name, no sender. Just 3 words. Live view available. My thumb hovered over the screen. Against every instinct, I tapped it. The feed opened instantly. It wasn't my house. It wasn't any place I recognized. It was a dark room. In the center stood a single chair. Someone was sitting in it, head lowered, motionless. The camera slowly zoomed in. The person raised his head. I stopped breathing. It was me, but I wasn't holding the phone. I wasn't looking at the camera. I was staring directly at something standing behind it. Then, the version of me on the screen smiled and whispered, "Don't turn around." Every muscle in my body locked. The words echoed in my head. "Don't turn around." The version of me on the screen wasn't moving anymore. He simply stared past the camera, as something I couldn't see. My breathing became shallow. The room around me felt colder by the second. I wanted to look behind me. Every instinct demanded it. But Michael's notebook flashed through my mind. He gets closer only when you notice him. And now, my own reflection had just warned me not to turn around. I kept my eyes fixed on the phone. Seconds passed. Then something changed. The me inside the video slowly lifted one trembling hand, not toward the camera, toward whatever stood behind it. His lips moved again. This time there was no sound. I replayed the movement in my head, trying to read his lips. 3 words. He's behind you. A loud knock shattered the silence. 3 knocks. From my front door. I nearly jumped. Another 3 knocks followed. Slow, patient, not aggressive, just waiting. I forced myself to walk toward the door without looking behind me. Every step felt heavier than the last. The knocking stopped the moment I reached the hallway. I looked through the peephole. No one. I opened the door anyway. The porch was empty. Rain drifted across the yard in thin silver lines. No footprints. No parked cars. Nothing. Then I noticed a small package sitting on the welcome mat. Plain brown paper. No address. No postage. Only my name written in neat black ink. Ethan Carter. I carried it inside and locked the door. Inside the package was a single object. An old memory card. No note. No explanation. Only a label. Camera 5. I frowned. My security system only had 4 cameras. There had never been a 5th. I inserted the card into my laptop. 1 video file appeared. No date. No timestamp. Just a file name. backup_05. I clicked play. The video opened instantly. At first, the screen was completely black. Then an image slowly emerged. A narrow hallway. The wallpaper looked familiar. Too familiar. I paused the video. My heart sank. It wasn't similar to my hallway. It was my hallway. But something was different. The walls looked newer. The paint was fresh. The light fixture hadn't been replaced yet. This recording had been made years before I bought the house. A timestamp faded into view. May 24th, 2:17 a.m. Michael Turner's final night. The camera remained fixed on the hallway. For nearly a minute, nothing happened. Then Michael stepped into frame. He looked terrified. He kept glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone to appear. He stopped directly beneath the camera, looked up, and spoke. "If anyone finds this, don't make the same mistake." He took a shaky breath. I finally figured it out. It's not following me. It's following. The lights in the hallway flickered. Michael turned. His eyes widened. "No," he whispered. "It's already." The recording glitched. For less than half a second. When the picture returned, Michael was gone. Not running. Not falling. Gone. The hallway stood empty. Completely silent. Then, slowly, a shadow stretched across the floor. Not cast by a person. Not cast by any visible object. It moved toward the camera. The image began breaking apart into digital blocks. Static swallowed the screen. Then, one clear frame appeared. The tall man stood directly beneath the camera, looking straight into the lens. This time, his face wasn't blurred. For the first time, I could see him clearly. My breath caught. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a monster. It wasn't Michael. The face staring back at me was mine. Not similar. Not close. Exactly mine. Same eyes. Same scar beneath my chin. Same beard. Only older. Much older. His skin was pale. His eyes were completely black. He smiled. Then the video ended. I slammed the laptop shut. No! This isn't happening. The room spun around me. Every logical explanation I'd clung to over the past week collapsed. The figure had my face. A loud beep came from the office. I walked in slowly. The security monitor had turned itself back on. Every camera feed was active, even camera 3, but something had changed. Each camera showed a different room. Driveway, backyard, hallway, bedroom. In every single feed, I was standing there, watching the camera, motionless, for different versions of me. At the exact same time, I looked toward the real hallway, empty, back to the monitor. The hallway version of me slowly smiled. Then, all 4 versions spoke together. Their voices echoed through the speakers like one person speaking from 4 different places. "Now you know why no one else could see me. The screens went black. One final message appeared in white letters. Recording complete. Then the screen went black. No static, no glitches, just black. For the first time in days, every camera was silent. I stood there for nearly a minute, waiting for something else to happen. Nothing did. The house felt strangely empty, not peaceful, vacant, like a theater after the audience had gone home. I walked to the monitor and unplugged it. No resistance, no mysterious messages. The power light faded. It was over, or so I wanted to believe. The next morning, I packed everything. The cameras, the recorder, Michael's notebook, the VHS tape, the Polaroids. I loaded them into the back of my truck. By noon, I was driving south, away from Ashwood. I didn't care where I ended up. I just wanted distance. The rain stopped after an hour. The highway stretched empty beneath a gray sky. For the first time in a week, I felt like I could breathe. Then my phone vibrated. I ignored it. Another vibration, then another. Finally, I glanced at the screen. No notification, only the lock screen, but reflected in the black glass. Someone was sitting in the passenger seat. I froze. Slowly, I turned my head. The seat was empty. I looked back at the phone. The reflection was gone. A horn blared. I swerved just in time to avoid an oncoming truck. The tires screamed against the pavement. My truck spun across the highway before crashing into the guardrail. Everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital. A soft beeping sound echoed beside my bed. Sunlight filtered through half-closed blinds. My head throbbed. A nurse noticed I was awake. "Easy," she said. "You've had quite a scare." "How long?" 2 days. I looked around. No visitors? She smiled apologetically. None. After she left, I noticed something on the bedside table. My backpack. It should have been destroyed in the crash. Instead, it looked untouched. I opened it. Inside, everything was gone. No cameras, no notebook, no VHS tape. Only one item remained. Polaroid. My hands shook as I turned it over. It showed my hospital room, taken from the ceiling corner. I was asleep in the bed. The nurse stood beside me. At the foot of the bed, the tall figure watched silently. I looked up. There was no camera in the room, no place where the picture could have been taken. A chill crawled up my spine. That evening, Officer Brooks called. "I heard about the accident. I'm okay. You left town." I tried. A long silence. Then he asked, "Do you remember what you told the paramedics?" "No. They said you kept repeating the same sentence." "What sentence?" Brooks hesitated. "You said, 'Don't let them install cameras in the room.'" I looked around. Hospital rooms always had equipment. Heart monitors, medical sensors, tiny observation cameras near the ceiling. I had never noticed them before. Now, I couldn't stop looking. One small dome camera sat above the doorway. Its tiny red light blinked once, then twice, then stayed solid. My heart began racing. The monitor beside my bed suddenly emitted a sharp electronic tone. The screen flickered, not the heart monitor, the ceiling camera. Its lens, slowly, turned toward me. 1 year later, Ashwood, Oregon. The farmhouse was sold. A young couple moved in. They loved the quiet, the forest, the old wooden floors. On their second weekend, they decided to clean the attic. Hidden behind a stack of forgotten boxes, they found a dusty cardboard carton. Inside were 4 old security cameras. The husband smiled. "These still look usable." His wife laughed. "We could put one in the hallway." That night, at 2:17 a.m., the new security system sent its first notification. Motion detected. The husband opened the live feed. The hallway was empty. He frowned. Then, in the far corner of the screen, a man stood perfectly still, watching. Only this time, the man's face was clear. It wasn't Ethan. It wasn't Michael. It was the husband himself.